No, I was done.
What's that?
I took a class once. Wow. What fun.
Right? Hey, happy end of May. I very nearly forgot all about that I wanted to do a monthly video. So this unfortunately is going to feel about on par with my last one. Kind of randomly, kind of like I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't. This is all still very new to me. I've been having a bit of an existential crisis the last couple of days over even calling myself an artist, and beating myself up for my ADHD and what feels like a complete inability to follow through on literally anything, and trying to figure out what I even want to do with my art. So that's been super fun. But this is for an art update of the stuff I made this last month, right? So let's talk about that. This month has definitely been much lighter as far as art goes. I don't entirely know why. Some of the last 2 weeks have been end of school year activities with my kiddo getting out of school and we've had more recitals and stuff going on. We've had some doctor's appointments, so that's kind of cut into my ability to be creative because I have to use all my executive functioning for those adulting things rather than the fun art stuff. But I'm not coming totally empty-handed, which is nice. I thought I was being clever, and I cut down 4x6 canvas pieces to tape to my little drawing board here, because I thought, okay, let's just do small paintings, low pressure, low stakes. If it sucks, it sucks. It's fine. You didn't do a giant painting. And then I would, in my head, I would sit down every day and do at least the first layer of a painting on one, so that over 4 days I would have 4 paintings that I have at least started, and I could go back to the first one after the 4th day and do more detail on it while the others dried, or I could just toss them. I did one painting. I started this water lily. I might go back in and work on it more. I kind of want to, actually, because I kind of think that I can fix it and get it where I want it. But I got 3 others I didn't even touch because I couldn't even think of what to paint. For me, I feel like that's the hardest thing is, okay, I want to sit and paint. What the hell am I going to paint, right? The other thing I did this month, I put together a little plein air painting box. I was trying to fashion something of my own without spending $200-300 on something that I may or may not use. In my head, I think I'm going to use it, right? So I took this Hobby Lobby watercolor kit, one of those things that comes in the fancy wood box that makes it feel like it's super fancy. I ripped out the plastic in the inside of it that had all the little moldings to fit the tubes and the paintbrushes and stuff. Ripped all that out and went to Lowe's and got a piece of glass cut that would fit in the bottom, and I spray painted the back of it gray so that I had a toned glass palette, and tried to turn it into an on-the-go landscaping oil painting kit. Great. And then I couldn't find a place that I wanted to paint, and the weather was too cold. I actually showed up to the local quarry, which is absolutely gorgeous. My husband and I got married there, and I was all excited, I'm gonna go to this quarry and I'm gonna paint and it's gonna be stunning. It was freezing. It was absolutely freezing. It was 50, I think my phone said it was 57 degrees, but it felt like 37 degrees between the wind and the water and everything. It was just awful. So in my desperation to utilize this painting kit that I had put together for myself, I happened to be going over to my storage unit to pick up yarn for an online order as I go to sell off all what's left of my inventory from closing my shop. And there's a bowling alley right like across the parking lot. Been to that bowling alley I don't know how many times when my kid played bowling or did bowling for like a school thing. And I'm looking at the sign and I was like, that actually looks kind of cool. Random inspiration struck, right? So I got out the painting kit. I even took an hour worth of video as I'm painting this, thinking, oh, I'm going to post all of this online. Of course I didn't, because that requires thinking ahead and actually planning and doing things after you have ADHD and can't function anyway. But I did eventually. I painted the first layer and let it dry and came home and finished it. And this is what came out of it. Not perfect, but kind of captures the gist of the bowling alley sign. I just think it was kind of cool, kind of fun. Something to do to like test it out. I do have four pages in my sketchbooks that I'm going to show you, but that's it. It's been really slow. And again, I don't know entirely why. I just haven't been in an artsy mood. But yeah, let me show you. Okay, first up on my generic sketchbook, which I am almost done with, I have this really terrible, awful picture of a cat. The picture that I was using as a reference kind of looked like the cat was starting to sneeze. I was sitting at a doctor's appointment waiting and was just killing time, and it's not great. I don't really care. That's the point of a sketchbook. Sketchbooks shouldn't be all pretty. We'll talk about this. This, I was trying to kind of design a lino cut, for swatching my fountain pennings. So I kind of like drew this out and then copied it on my copier, darkened it so that I could like see it better because it's a pretty light drawing, and then rubbed the back of the paper with some pencil, put it on my lino cut to trace and kind of transfer it, and yeah. And then later, I think the night or two later, I was playing with like ink splotches and different perspectives just to kind of like test myself just for random practice. And then I have a subscription to Draw or Die, which is like a community where there's daily prompts that you get sent, and I don't do a lot of them. I haven't actually done these in a long while, but for some reason I was looking for something to draw. Sometimes I get one and it like really sticks and I come up with something really cool. This was kind of one of those where I saw it and I was like, oh, I totally have to do that. So the prompt was extreme bird watcher, and I kind of mashed together a couple different references to try to figure out the positioning and what I wanted to do for it. But I ended up drawing what's supposed to be kind of a skydiver who is out diving while looking for birds because, you know, extreme sports. And then I did this originally in pencil, and then I went back in with my watercolors. This is one of those Art Creations, the Talents Art Creations sketchbooks. It's not great for heavy water media. Like, I had some issues with the background and trying to do my clouds to get that vibe, but it did okay. And then in the other sketchbook front, so I taught for my little art group. MOFAS is Mid-Ohio Fine Art Society here in my area. I taught like a little workshop on urban sketching, and we talked about urban sketching, and then I went and gave everyone half an hour, and we just kind of scattered and went our different ways and found something to draw. I ended up drawing, this is the inside of the Harding Hotel, which is now converted into apartments and also some office space, but it used to be this fancy hotel in downtown, and these were the mail slots. So there's like windows here, and these are all mail slots for people who were staying here. These are columns. This is like the check-in area, desktop. Very, very minimal. This is not usually how I do my urban sketches, but I just used pen and pencil, and then I have some India ink that I watered down in a water brush so that I could layer on and get some shadow colors when I need like just regular grayscale. So that was that one. And then the other one I have is this little piece. This was an urban sketch with the Columbus Urban Sketchers. We went to Gallant Farm in Delaware, which is this 1920s Depression era farm, sustenance type farm. So they have sheep, they have cows, they have chickens, they have like a garden area where they're trying to raise their own food. There's an old farmhouse that's been restored to look like it was in the 30s. Really, really cool place. It was unfortunately drizzling rain all day long, and I had to sit under an overhang to be able to paint this without getting wet. And then my paper was taking forever to dry from the humidity, and it was just kind of a nightmare. Like, I didn't really love this when I did it in person, but then I came home and I added a little bit more, like I darkened this panel of the building and I added the lines for the siding. I deepened the colors of my chickens because before, from a distance, they almost look white, and now I'm actually fairly happy with it. I wish that I would have done my background maybe a little bit lighter on those background trees, just because I feel like they're not pushed further back enough because of how pigmented they are. But for the tools I had at the time and the rainy situation, it's pretty good. Let me show you my ink swatch thing. Okay, so here's what I did. So I took that paint drawing and I transferred it and I carved it. I need to go back through and carve down a little bit more here. I was worried about shaving down too much. I don't know why. This is like a really super thick, like one of those easy cut blocks. But I did that, and I have some pigment, like pigment based ink, so it won't run. And I had taken some watercolor mixed media paper, something heavier. You can kind of see how thick that is, right? A little bit thicker. And I kind of made a zine using like the method of making a zine, and I just did that with this mixed media paper, and I stamped some of my inks swatches. I still need to go through and do more because I needed these to dry first, because I put them on really, really wet, because this has shimmer and some of these have like a little bit of a sheen, and I wanted to make sure that those were nice and dry before I did the others. But I made myself a little swatch book. So now I will go through and swatch out my other fountain pen inks, and then I will have something that I can kind of keep track of which inks I have when I want to put a new one in my fountain pen the next time it runs out. So I am hoping for June that things will be picking up a little bit as far as the art goes. We're officially in the school's out summer vibes, and that leaves obviously a whole bunch of time available because I'm not spending extra hours in executive function and brain power trying to remember I gotta get my kid up for school, I gotta get him off to school, I gotta get this done, I gotta get that done, I gotta be home when he gets home from school, like we've got after school activities we gotta run to, like all these things. Like I don't have to deal with that. So I'm hoping that I can kind of ramp back up again and make some more art. We are also going on vacation later this month, and we'll be going from here in Ohio up to Michigan to the Upper Peninsula, which I've been before, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But this time we are going to go up north, and we're going to go across the Upper Peninsula and then back down through Wisconsin, Chicago, and then back home. So we're kind of doing like this circle. And I'm really excited to take my painting stuff with me, and hopefully my goal is to do at least 2 landscape oil paintings while I'm up there. I have no idea how I'm going to transport them yet. I'm debating on buying either a panel pack or a Raymar wet palette transport box. Haven't decided yet. I don't even know what size of panel I'm taking. I don't know if I'm just doing the cheapy cardboard panels or if I'm going to go buy fancy wood ones. I haven't figured it out yet. Because I'm frankly still kind of intimidated by my what feels like an overly ambitious goal to even paint on location while on vacation. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll be doing that. And then I also have, there's a summer art show coming up that my local art group is in charge of. And I have the opportunity to put at least one piece, possibly more, in that art show. So I am trying to figure out, okay, which of all these pieces that I have created so far, or is there something I want to do maybe with like watercolors that I want to put in there. And I am pushing myself this time to put prices on my art. When I first entered my first art show last fall, I didn't put a price on it, partially because I was very partial to what I painted, and I still am. But also, I don't know how to value my work. I am chronically undervaluing my value in everything that I have done. And I gotta figure that out. And if anyone has any tips, please feel free to leave a comment and point me in the right direction, because right now that is something that's very intimidating to me right now, is how do I price something that is fair to me and the time that I have invested in painting the item, learning how to paint in the first place, all the skills and, several years of practice going into that makes it fair to me, but also isn't charging a ridiculous amount of money for a painting that is essentially by a nobody right now. Like, I'm not a famous artist. I'm not in galleries. I'm not doing craft fairs, and I'm not super popular, right? So I feel like I can't charge a premium for something that I painted. So gotta figure that out. In the meantime, I'm going to, I think, sit here and try to paint while this gorgeous weather is coming in. It is not overly hot out. It has finally stopped raining here in Ohio. I was able to get in the garden and actually clean out weeds and whatnot, which I haven't been able to do in forever. So I think I'm gonna sit here and soak up the bird song and the nice breeze and the gorgeous lighting and come up with something new to paint. I will see you guys next month, probably more like July, since I'll be gone when I would normally post for June. Either that or I might do an early one. We'll see how it goes.